Surf's up, guys, it's Mauisnake here, and we're back with demo reviews. The old classic demo reviews. Unedited, unfiltered, and it's almost like you're watching a live stream, so be sure to use the timestamps to the rounds that you want to get to. I'm co-streaming ESL Pro League, by the way, twitch.tv/Mauisnake. I know a lot of you wanted me to stream on YouTube. I would have liked to do that as well, but ESL doesn't readily approve those as frequently as they do Twitch streams. So you're going to have to catch me on Twitch if you're interested. It's been a lot of fun already. Great feedback, great interactions from all of the people that have already joined the streams. So hop in if you want to watch ESL Pro League in a way that doesn't feel like a slog. Not that the product of ESL Pro League is bad. It's actually improved drastically over time. But I'm making it even more fun. I'm making it even better because you get to watch the game with your best friend, which is me. I don't know who you are because you're living in a parasocial relationship with me, but let's not break the fourth wall more times than we need to, okay? Be sure to sub and donate and follow. Okay, so we're actually getting back into this, and who better to do it with than Donk? Donk has been lighting the scene on fire. It has almost been memified at this point how excited everybody is for this young 16-year-old Russian rifler because he's reminding people of all of the best riflers out there. To me, I'm seeing a lot of Nico. I'm seeing a lot of Nico, which is crazy because Donk's sensitivity is actually quite high compared to Nico's, but he moves with such a silky smoothness, and he is such an active player that he gets involved. So you can see his stats from this year. These are the 2023 stats right there, and Donk himself has been owning 1.26 rating, and he isn't even really falling off or just farming bad opponents. He's doing pretty well against everybody. Obviously, he hasn't played against any top 5 opponents yet, but he is destroying. We're going to be watching his game right now versus OneWin, and this is a matchup where you're playing against some pretty good players. You're going to see also that Donk is globally muted. His name is Blackbird here, but we're going to see what he's able to accomplish in the pistol round. He's going to only be able to find one right here. Nice shot onto Boomich. And this is not a strong position for Donk at this point because he's going to get flashed right out. Good nades, honestly, from OneWin. And as Donk's trying to find cover, he'll be taken down. So that's going to be the pistol round for Donk. And the reason I also wanted to get back into demo reviews, guys, is just that it's kind of fun to learn. I don't know. Is that just me? Because even pros can learn. Look at that bad nade from Donk. Even he could learn something. Maybe he should watch back this demo. But given that his team was able to win the pistol round, he's just going to be looking for some fights out here with the FAMAS, just kind of testing a couple of these angles. And he knows that his opponents are probably not on any sort of strong buy for themselves. Pretty rare. I'd say that it's kind of become a little kind of like team dependent. Are they going to force on the second round? But after he gets that singular kill, it's pretty much a clean round for him and his team. Not really too much action for him. We see that actually there's a global mute on the other side in Bulldog. That is not the name of the player on OneWin. That is actually Deco. So in case you were curious, in case you were at all curious there. And yeah, he's able to get a second kill with just taking these fights outside. And at this point, his teammates are just going to clean up. So yeah, second round, pretty simple for Donk. You're going to see a little bit of a change-up for him here, where he smokes out the door, nades the door as well, and as he moves down, you're going to see that his teammates put him into a 4v5, and so Donk in this situation, knowing that he has a weaker weapon than what was coming from OneWin, which is that they're going to have a lot of AKs, instead of playing a standard position like he was in the previous, he goes for this sneaky secret play early on, and he's going to be going for timing peaks every now and then to try to look for a fight. And the reason for going for timing peaks as opposed to just taking the one-on-one fight is that you have the worst weapon. I think that goes without saying that the FAMAS is worse than the AK. And so you're trying to use just the fact that you're on CT side abusers in the chat. I've started talking like a streamer a little bit, I'm sorry. But the thing is that going for timing peaks here is obviously a better way to look for a fight than just standing and holding angles outright or looking for peaks. Because when we saw him in the previous round when he was playing against an anti-eco, he's obviously swinging for fights constantly, looking for any kind of duel he can. But when you're going for timing peaks, you're trying to catch a T as they're moving forward, which is inherently an advantage of playing the defense. That you can just kind of go for these peaks now and then. You never really have to claim space and your windows of vulnerability are much lower when you're on the CT side, generally speaking. So, A play coming about for 1win. They actually make their way towards ramp. They're tucking and going down. Teammate kind of blocks him a little bit here, and that might hurt their timings just a bit. And they're going to go for a double swing. And if he had an A1S, I think that Donk wins that fight. But given that he has the FAMAS in a rotating position, pretty tough for him to try to claim that one. So 1win are able to put their first on the board. But now we're going to finally see Donk on the A1S. Molly towards outside. This will slow down any oncoming tees. You see that he's able to just cross pretty safely because of that. They could technically still swing through the molly and actually kill him, but that's such a strong risk to take that might not even pay off if you're a 1-win player. You're going to take, what, 30-ish damage from the molly, and you might not even find anything. And so Donk, once again, employing timing peaks as he's playing in the back corner. He's just making sure that nobody's sneaking into Mini, but something that gets a little bit scary here, if you're the big garage player, is the possibility that somebody flashes through that diagonal smoke and could blind you. So that's why even now you could see that Donk is very careful because they could have snuck through. And given that he doesn't know what 1win's game plan is, he's playing it in a more passive sense. He's still looking for a fight here. You can see how carefully he's clearing out all these angles in case there is a lurker. There is a lurker in Deco. Almost sees him, but actually not quite. And what's really curious about what's going on now for the rest of this round is that 45 seconds left, him and his teammates are sorely out of position. You see Bell is here. I forgot who Bell actually is off the top of my head. Art Frost is in lower, kind of just holding on. Zontix is there. But instead of actually trying to hold on to the space, what they all end up doing is rotating more or less towards A. Donk smokes out the door. He's jiggling towards outside. And it seems like Chomper had a strong read, given that he gave his life up towards lower, that they are going back towards an A play. And Donk, very key moment, dropping behind the silo indicates that you are aware that your opponents are committing to this site. You would like to stay heaven if you think that there's any chance that they're going to be going back, but this is where Donk's mechanics really pop off, even in an anchor position. So just swinging around, he's able to pick up 2 with the A1S, a 3rd with the USP, and he's buying so much time for his teammates, but he still just finishes it off with the USP as well. That's one of those moments where so many players, especially, there's certain players that I've seen before that are good in rotator positions. They're good at taking these kind of open air skirmishes. And then there's certain people that seem to be much better in anchor positions. And what's so impressive about Donk is that he doesn't ever look uncomfortable in any of them. And he makes it look so simple to kill 4 people. That didn't even look hard. That really didn't even look hard. It looks like anyone could have done that. But Donk finds that with consistency against players that have played at majors, a major winner in Boomich, and some up-and-coming talents too from 1win. So again, Donk knows that he's against pistols in this one. Boomich actually finds a timing there. This is a little bit curious because he's actually working with Art Frost to try to defend this outside position, and it feels like he didn't know, or Art Frost didn't know for that matter, that a player could be out there towards red. And look at how smooth his crosshair was there. You might even want to just rewind that for a second for yourself, because his crosshair just tracks it so cleanly. He never looks panicked in so many of these fights, even though he has quite high sensitivity. But we're going to just see him kind of take down these pistols here. His teammates are all getting in on the action at this point, but yeah, this is just Donk getting to exercise his own individual ability, and Travis, because he only has a Glock, wasn't able to really take a fair fight versus Donk there, who's already on 9 kills after 5 rounds of play. So instead this round, he throws a flash as Art Frost throws the deep molly, so they can very safely cover Donk getting into this corner now. Again, playing this position, and if you're unaware of some of the angles on Nuke, one of the great reasons that you really do like to play this corner right here is that when T's, if they do try to sneak into Mini, do eventually do so, they have to turn their back towards one of 2 angles, either Mini Garage itself and the A site, or the player that's playing in the corner here, which makes this position incredibly strong, because it's pretty rare that people are going to hard clear this when they swing into Mini, meaning the big garage, and it's more likely that they're just going to turn their attention towards the A riflers, hoping to catch them off guard. So I want to show here's the retake from the perspective of actually the T that's going to actually have to try to kill Donk. So what Donk does, throws his molly, smoke on that angle as well, and he peeks out quite shallowly here. You'll see that he takes the fight against Boomich, and Forrester can't see him yet. He can't actually see Donk as he's coming out of that space because he's tucked himself in so tightly here, and that is credit to Donk for his ability to manage angles so well. And even as now Forrester tries to take this fight, we see that Donk's teammate is already holding the angle on this position. And so even though Forrester is able to kill him, it's not for free by any means. And so Donk's able to trade it out as this guy, or at least trade it out as this guy is looking for that. And so 1v2 now, and this is just Deco, who is hiding behind smokes, and the thing is that Spirit just don't expect him to push that smoke. But really cool angle management there from Donk, and that shows just how strong his micro game is, which you don't always get to see. Just that tight of a swing, and the teamwork between him and his teammate from Spirit in order to cover each other's weaknesses there. Smart stuff, strong stuff from Donk. Next round here, even though we see that Spirit aren't able to take that retake, they had good team procedures in order to try to take that space outright. And they go for the timeout. It's actually a very important round for them, given that they don't have a lot of money. So, not the most money on one win either. You see that they have a couple MAC-10s, but a different setup this time. Smoke at the middle right there, the more aggressive smoke. Usually that'll keep T's guessing because it leads to them being pretty unsure. Is anybody back red? Is anybody close in the middle right there? Is anybody trying to sneak into what I call Africa with a lot of my teammates, aka the spot that's kind of beneath heaven, or beneath the top of Twinkie, that is. And so once again, he really does like this position. Outside smokes come about, and thankfully, Art Frost takes down Boomich around that smoke, and you'll see the power of kind of playing this back corner position now that Donk has so frequently tried putting himself into, because Nickelback is going to try to sneak into Mini here, and with that timing, you could see what I was talking about earlier. Donk just catches Nickelback as he's looking the other way. So 5 versus 3, plays very defensively, throws a utility just to make sure it covers his retreat, and the Molly's right there on the ground, knows that there's only one player left, knows exactly where he is, so he goes for the spray down onto Travis to win the round. Don't want to give him any space, don't want to really give him too much respect. And so 13 kills in 7 rounds of play already for Donk. And so this is just going to be pistols. He's going to throw that Molly, as we've talked about before, and he's just going to simply help out on these holds. And one thing I really want to talk about on this eco, as that Molly is able to even find a kill, is that I just love that what we're getting finally is a guy that's coming up in the tier 2 space as an aggressive rifler. And why that's so important is that it's actually so frequent to see certain players come up from the tier 2 space and be a little bit more passive. And then we end up just seeing that the reason that they were able to get such high rating numbers is because they took fights on their own terms that didn't necessarily translate to their team winning. This was a great 4K from Donk, but it's just that he's able to take all these fights, impose his mechanics consistently on his opponents, and because of that, it seems very possible and likely, for that matter, that if you're able to kill all of these tier 2 teams with aggressive plays consistently and play winning, impactful Counter-Strike, your play will translate to the higher level, because playing passive CS as a rifler, it's in some ways you are just in control of your own destiny in terms of the amount of kills that you're able to find and the amount of deaths you're able to prevent, because you're never really actually fighting for space with your team. But Donk is fighting for space in this game, and he's still able to do a lot of damage. So this time around, Boomich sneaking through those outside smokes, and this is unfortunately for Donk the one time where he didn't just play that safe corner position, and so Boomich is able to catch him off guard there. His team is still able to put the round together, so still pretty healthy for the Spirit side. And there we go with the cross smoke there. And this time around, he knows his teammates are engaged in a fight right now, so he swings through the smoke. It seems risky, but because his teammates are all, at that point, already fighting, they've relayed that they're coming outside, or they're coming inside, that is, coming out the door, then it's not as worrisome. And we see that this time around, yeah, one win. They just didn't really put it together in terms of throwing that smoke in time, and so that was a free kill for Donk. Sometimes playing good CS just means punishing the mistakes of your opponent as much as it does creating your own opportunities. And we see that Donk actually, after getting that kill, does go for the reposition towards Secret, just making sure that he's able to cover all of outside if Forrester just go for a late lurk, but not challenge. But kind of also a nice little point to note that even in a 4v1 hugely advantaged situation, Donk is still trying to play winning Counter-Strike by not just sitting back on his heels and making sure that he's keeping space towards outside, keeping his eyes there. 19-5 already. Some good rounds here, some really nice rounds from Donk, but a lot of them still just make it look so simple. Little nade combo outside, trying to deter anybody. And I'll say this, I'm a little bit curious about that smoke on the molly. I know it's going to be a little bit confusing for one win. They might have to clear that smoke now, might slow them down a bit, because they might think that there's a guy back red, because usually that smoke is deployed to try to defend any back red player, but it does seem like it's a little bit just like, I'm going to try to trick them, but it doesn't actually lead to anything. So one win are able to sneak down lower, but Donk, at this point, when you're 19-5, you feel like you can do absolutely anything, and so little half clear towards that close angle, and he's already on the flank. Like, this is a good play. This is a play where he needed confidence to recognize that there was very low likelihood that anybody was going to be there. And unfortunately, though, with Donk, he gets the first kill, knew that there was a guy control who was making noise a second ago, but he wasn't able to keep his eyes on every angle at once. So when they're able to take one away, thanks to their just pretty simple outside smokes into a lower take. Molly again towards outside, smokes the door off this time. And the one thing with Donk is that his utility is quite good, and it usually makes sense, but he does dump a lot early on in rounds. I don't think that's the end of the world. It's just that if you're trying to be especially nitpicky, you could say maybe you don't need to throw a smoke and your molly in the first 15 seconds in a round every time. But this is a cool angle from Donk. Really shows that he trusts his aim, that he trusts his mechanics, but one win showing that they're no slouches either. Easy trade from Travis, and so Donk finally falls without getting a multi-frag. Feels like every single time he's good for a multiple. And I've actually seen a round from Donk in that exact same position where he's able to pick up, I want to say 3 kills with the M4 versus AKs, and it was against opponents that were probably not trading as well as one win, but like he knows he can believe in his mechanics there. Finally, a switch up where we're going to see Donk go for a lobby crunch with the rest of Spirit. And so you see him push very early, and this is game sense right here. Understanding one win's likelihood to slot a lurker into back door right there. Very common position for the lobby lurker to put themselves there. And instead of actually trying to retake too much space too early and trying to potentially give up his life by swinging into an angle that is now taken by a one-win player, Donk's very cautious about this approach. You can see that Zontix is in Big Garage now, holding on to that space, and so Donk just slots himself back into lobby along with his teammates, gives one of his guys a smoke, and then puts himself in a very tough position. You're going to see how tricky this spot becomes for a one-win to clear, as they try to molly him out twice of the same spot, but Boomich trying to sneak down a little bit early. I'm a little bit unsure about that one because his teammates didn't seem like they were ready to help out, but yeah, they try to molly him once, and that's not even a bad molly from one win. It covers everything that needs to be cleared, but this is just such a strong position for a CT that you can't really do anything other than wallbang, which Deco will try to do, but yeah, that's just too difficult, and so Donk, in between shots of the op, tries to take one down. Sure, he gives up his life, but there's so much position already taken by him and his team that you wouldn't consider that a heavy mistake because it actually seemed like they were fairly vulnerable. One win, that is. Plays around credit card a little bit more this time. And this time around, Donk is, again, just kind of playing back. I'm not exactly always... I feel like he really likes playing back garage the most, and this is probably his second favorite spot, but can just see that he's not giving a steady diet of plays. If you do just run the same setup every single time as a CT, it becomes a little bit too obvious for your opponent, so there is value in changing it up. Sees that there's a molly already in the L bend, so immediately just hightails it over to the A site to reinforce his teammate on top. And this is one round where things get a little bit claustrophobic for him and his teammates as he rotates down, kind of just wants to make sure, but there's a lot of action from One Win. They're crunching onto the A bomb site, good nade usage, and even though Art Frost is able to get a couple of kills, very briefly there was a window where Donk was exposed between the shots, and so he does get taken down without even finding a kill, but still crazy half from Donk. Really good rotations. One thing that I would mention immediately about how Donk was able to find so much success, one, his mechanics are excellent. Two, I'll say that the communication from Spirit is very strong. Every time it felt like, and that's a little bit of luck too, where it did feel like when they were gambling towards A or B, and sometimes they were gambling towards A, One Win was rotating back up towards A, which helped them out. But I'll say that Spirit are a pretty solid team based off of just the way that they clear angles together and are more or less playing with each other. So outside fight early on in this pistol round, and they fade away back towards the A site as there's just so much, there's kind of a lot of chaos in this round, but you can see that as soon as Spirit do make contact with that lower player, they actually just hightail it back, and that's just going to throw One Win's rotations into a fritz also, into a frenzy. And so it looks like he's kind of pushing super deep, but in some ways it also feels like Spirit staged that really nicely, where they knew they were going to have options in that round. If they don't lose too many players early on those outside fights, they're able to kind of just sink into a few different spots, and then the mid-round from Chopper was pretty nice to just get back to that bomb site. So throws his nades away, flash, molly. I mean, all he has left is a molly. And again, they're kind of using Donk in the way that they did on the T or on the CT side, where he's just he's tasked with taking a space that is all about looking for some fights, trying to maintain pressure. And the molly is to clear that really annoying off angle. And while the diagonal smokes are still up, Donk just hightails it over. But look at the crosshair placement. Barely even has to correct that to get that kill on a Nickelback towards the bottom of the stairs right there, which can be a pretty tricky spot to clear. But he's going to connect with his teammates who are coming down the ramp. Donk's just making sure that all of these pretty standard angles are cleared out, and probably also wondering why is nobody even here. So yeah, just going to be holding on to that space. Does have to help out at some point here. Even kind of shocked his teammate coming all the way up the ramp, and not necessarily a bad idea to just join forces with them because they were under a lot of pressure. But now you're very unsure if anybody is around towards B. But given it's just Boomich on a CZ, it's not going to be too much of an issue. So nades towards outside. And this is a blessing in disguise round a little bit for Donk. You're going to see that he gets dinked in just a second here. There's going to be a pistol shot. There's a nade and dink. And as soon as that dink comes, what happens is Donk actually fades back. If he didn't get dinked, there's a ton of nades like being sent right there towards T-Red. And if he actually didn't get headshotted, he might have died to the nade. So yeah, kind of a lucky little... It's almost lucky that he got shot. And other than that, this is just a full anti-eco. Boomich tries to send it. It looks silly right now from our perspective on what Boomich is doing, but he just has a pistol. And yeah, you can see that Donk is just kind of juggling those angles out. But 27-9. 27-9 in 18 rounds of play. So this looked like it was going to be an A-rush for Spirit, and they're actually going to run the same play into the upcoming round as well, but they cancel it just to put some pressure onto One Win. And it seemed like they kind of want to send Donk out to see, do you see an opportunity here to get out that door? But if he just senses one nade too many, whether that's a molly or a smoke, or maybe even just based off of feeling, he doesn't actually commit to it, and then he goes back to his standard position outside, throws the molly right there on the stairs to cover at least one of the angles as he goes for those fights outside. And this is just standard approach for Tease, but here, this is kind of a cool little play. Sneaks through the corner smoke, is able to get one. Almost got Boomage. If he swung out just a little bit wider, he would have had that, but kind of second guesses it for just a split second, and so Boomage is able to take him down. Thankfully, for him and his team, they're able to clean everything up, so not too much of a worry. But again, this is what I think people are really excited about with Donk. He's taking aggressive fights very consistently, and he's still able to find such consistency against the opposition in the server. So, and this is what I am excited about with Donk. The fact that I'm not watching a player with high rating who is just playing super passive, waiting for their teammates to die, getting 1 to 2 kills that don't matter. The thing is with Donk, in a lot of these kills, we're seeing that they're happening early in rounds. He's set up to take those early fights, yes, but some of them are just on his own. He's just ready to take every fight possible. And if you have a rifler that's that good, it can change everything for you and your team, because you don't need to give him the resources of an op, and yet he's still able to find fragging output like an opper. That's why, in some ways, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, Nico can be argued to be the greatest CS player currently, because he's just not doing it with the op. And money being such an important factor in CSGO, if you're able to do the same amount of damage as someone that's spending twice as much as you, and you're able to allow your opper to still have that money and to give your team the flexibility of having a rifler, that's when you become a transcendent player. And many of us are excited about Donk because he is clearly that. He, in the tier 2 space, he has made it obvious that he is transcended, at least in that world. And that's going to be it for Donk. Demo review done. Thank you guys for watching this one. We're back with demo reviews. Be sure to sub, be sure to follow, be sure to keep locked in. Stay locked in here on these demo reviews, because they're coming back, guys. They're coming back. First one in a while, and what better player to do it than Donk? So, as always, guys, being toxic is a choice.